approximately 2 years ago. As we work on different strategies for implementing the MAPS model here on campus, we continue to strongly encourage our facilities planning and design staff and design professionals to utilize the MAPS program. For those of you who are not so familiar with MAPS, what MAPS is a voluntary certification system designed and built using strategies aimed at improving building environments for individuals with disabilities. It's a project scoping and assessment model that includes an extensive checklist of accessibility considerations. It offers a rating system similar to the U.S. Green Building Council's LEED ratings to aid understanding the relative extent of the universal design. It is a simple, flexible, and low-cost tool that assists in executing plans providing welcome, open, and sustainable environments for individuals with disabilities. Early on in the design process of when we're constructing facilities, there's goals and expectations are established regarding several things, and among them typically sustainability, aesthetics, technology needs, lab space, classroom space, office space. I often wondered if that design team is taking into consideration the needs of individuals with hearing, sight, or mobility impairments during this critical phase of design? Or are they mostly concerned with meeting the minimum standards as established and required by law, the American with Disabilities Act that was established some 21 years ago? What are the university's goals and expectations for accessibility? How do we convey those expectations? How do we measure those expectations? A few examples of the extensive list of considerations in the MAPS program are, for instance, whenever signs incorporate text with international symbol for accessibility, use the word accessible rather than handicapped or disabled. Power door operators at all entrances. To increase visibility and safety, ensure that the stair treads in a flight of stairs have adequate contrast with the stair landings at both the top and bottom of the stairs. That handrails are visually prominent with color contrast to adjacent walls and surfaces. Flooring that borders the walls of a contrasting color to the wall and adjacent flooring. Adjustable height podiums. Lighting to spotlight a sign language interpreter while the rest of the lights are dim. Provision of outlets to plug in batteries for wheelchairs and scooters adjacent to wheelchair seating spaces and areas. Automatic flush controls and faucets. The provision of sharps containers in all restrooms. And other innovative design and services that support individuals with disabilities. So the MAPS program has over 160 different considerations such as that, all of various point values. Those points are within 6 individual categories for a total possible points of 286 points. Depending on the amount of points acquired is the status of MAPS achievement that you obtain. The Iowa Promise is the title of the University of Iowa's strategic plan and its commitment to the people of Iowa. One of those strategies is to promote a welcoming climate that enhances the educational and work experience for all members of the community and prepares our graduates to live in an increasingly global environment by creating a more welcoming and accessible environment for faculty, staff, students, and visitors with disabilities. The MAPS model will enable us and ensure us that we keep that promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And next, presenting on web accessibility here at the University of Iowa will be Todd Weissenberger.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Weissenberger, and I'm with the ITS services in the mall, enterprise services. And I'm here to talk about web accessibility as it pertains to the University of Iowa. Many of us may not know exactly what web accessibility is, but in short, it is a way of designing websites so that they're equally usable and accessible by all users, regardless of their situation, regardless of what technology they use, regardless of their physical ability. Moreover, for us, web accessibility is not just a technical issue. Web accessibility is very much an issue of advocacy and inclusion as far as we're concerned, which happens to be technical in its execution. So from that perspective, we're somewhat different maybe than other technical arms of the university. Web accessibility consists of 4 core principles. Perceivability, meaning that any user can take in the information as it appears on the screen, whether or not they can actually, for example, see it on the screen. For example, visual, auditory, tactile, or other means of interpretation. That the site is operable, in other words, a person can drive it, whether they're using a trackball or a mouse or a keyboard or sip and puff or any other kind of input device. Understandable, meaning that the site is built to an appropriate level of not just of cognitive awareness, but also language awareness, and that the site is built predictably, and so that these types of properties are easily engaged with by all people. And robust, meaning that a web property will continue to function appropriately across a wide variety of technologies, including braille output screen readers, mainstream browsers, and others. We don't do all of this alone, and I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge many of the partnerships that have been so fruitful in our web accessibility efforts. SDS, Faculty Staff Disability Services, Disability Planning and Action Committee have been invaluable in helping us out. ITS and Enterprise Services, the Iowa Center for Assistive Technology Education and Research, the University Libraries, and our friends at other CIC institutions who have also helped us to pursue these efforts. So we could jump into the narrative of web accessibility at Iowa just about at any point in time. I'd like to roll us back to the last couple of years, 2009 and 10, when university leadership identified an opportunity to engage with web accessibility concerns as these were becoming prominent issues on campuses nationwide. Toward that end, a number of champions to this effort sort of emerged from the university population and worked to craft policy recommendations, to identify tools that might help us in this effort, to look at the tactical and logistical needs that would be required in performing various levels of remediation and accessibility strategies for our campus. And here are some of those listed on the screen. You can see those. This year, some of those recommendations and practices have really come to fruition. Policy recommendations from a couple of years ago are anticipated to become ratified as university policy soon. We're very pleased about that. There has been, we've created a new full-time web accessibility coordinator position. That's me. We gave the guy some funny glasses and put them in front of the crowd. I've deployed a number of tools that make it possible for us to evaluate the quality of websites for accessibility very quickly, and have evaluated in excess of 40 web properties during our pilot phase. We're very pleased about that. We have developed and also commissioned trainings that are beginning to reach dozens of web content providers on campus, and we're building even deeper partnerships with our colleagues at other CIC institutions. Next year, we look forward to even more success. We'll be expanding our training options to all our providers of university web content in hopes of disseminating the message and making it part of the greater university culture. We'll be publishing some recommended practices so that groups that are not sure what to do can have a clear-cut guideline on steps they can take to create accessible web properties. We will be providing evaluation services for vended applications, financial applications, enrollment applications, things that are provided by outside vendors, and bringing pressure to bear on them through our marketplace to make sure that they also create accessible technologies for us to use on campus. And basically continuing to advocate for accessibility and inclusion in all technical aspects the same way we do in all social aspects and all facilities aspects of the university. Our keys to success of this venture really start with us as a community, continued enthusiasm from leadership, from our partners, advocates, and champions. And so if anybody has any comment or feedback on this, I encourage you to come to me directly. I'll be glad to discuss this issue with you. But we also want to communicate to people who are not here today, faculty, to administration, that there is more than one way to interact with technology or any aspect of university life. And I think people sometimes fail to understand that people with disabilities may engage differently than other people are accustomed to seeing. And for that reason, it's up to us to spread that word. Partnerships with other institutions and other advocacy groups, of course, are going to be a big part of the future. And I would just like to thank you for your time. And I just wanted to mention that I knew Mina back when we were young. There's my contact information. Please feel free to drop a line or visit our website at itaccessibility.uiowa.edu.
Great, thank you, Todd. And because one of our presenters is running a little bit late, we're just going to move to the next presenter in line, and that is Taylor Peterson, presenting on the Sharps Project.
Hello, thank you all for taking the time to come out and celebrate accomplishments made for and by those with disabilities. My name is Taylor Peterson, and I am president of Student Disability Organization, a student group dedicating to raising disability awareness on campus. You can read our mission on the screen above, but simply put, our mission is to better the college experience of students with all types of disabilities through raising awareness and providing opportunities for like-minded individuals to come together. I'm here to speak on behalf of a project SDO pioneered this past spring. Brian Bruner, the former co-chair, and I began brainstorming ideas of things we could do as a group when we found the need for more Sharps containers on campus. We both knew friends and faculty with diabetes and had heard complaints about the lack of Sharps containers. Students, faculty, and visitors to the UI with diabetes regularly use insulin needles and need a safe way to dispose of them, rather than taking them home for disposal. This poses a safety hazard for the user and also to UI custodians, as there have been reports of custodians finding needles mixed in with the regular waste in trash cans. Providing access for safe disposal reduces the risk of needle stick injuries. About 150,000 Iowans have diabetes, and this number is steadily growing, which also demonstrates the need for these containers. With this idea, we simply sent an email to facilities management, which sparked a chain of action. They quickly responded to our request, and after a series of meetings, we had come up with a proposal. Facilities management took care of the project from that point on. Behind me are the names of key players: Brian Mantonot, Dan Heater, Phil Sia, the Building and Landscape Services Carpenter Crew, Carly Armour, and Brian Bruner. Please, if you're here, please stand and be recognized. Facilities management contributed $9,000 towards purchasing the containers, as you see on the screen. I also have one here with me. Containers were installed in more than 75 campus buildings, totaling 200 bins across campus. Containers were installed in at least one men's and women's restroom, with larger facilities receiving more. It's now a university design standard that all restrooms and new facilities have sharps containers installed. We're happy with the accomplishments we have made as a team thus far, but we would like to expand to the scope to reach residence halls and athletics facilities to better serve students and visitors to our campus. If you'd like to be a part of this process, please contact me. Also, our name is Student Disability Board. Also, please contact me if you'd like to be on our mailing list to stay informed on upcoming meetings and events. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Taylor. As you can see, we have a lot of great people here on campus doing a lot of great things in terms of accessibility. So we will continue with Dan Heater, who was late, so we're going to give him 3 minutes to present his. I'm just kidding, we'll give you the full 5. And who will be presenting on the construction and closure report.
Good afternoon. It's so wonderful to see so many people here today. We really appreciate it. We take a look at the importance of disability services on campus and accommodations for all persons. And so today I want to talk a little bit about a program that we put together, facilities management. And first I want to use some numbers that get kicked around. Can everybody hear me without the microphone? Because I'm kind of a walker, talker, wave my hands kind of a person. We talk about on campus yearly doing about $200 million worth of construction projects. If you break that down, if my math is any good, and I'd have to blame it on my calculator if it wasn't. If you break that down to, if they could work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they'd be spending about $24,000 an hour. That's a lot of construction work on campus. With that knowledge, we knew that some of that work, some of the time, was going to create some issues for access on sidewalks, roads, elevators, building entrances, parking lots, etc. So we wanted to get information out to all persons about some of these accessible challenges that could be created for pedestrians and or vehicles. So we created a program, and we called that program our Access and Construction Alert Priority List System. And I'm going to ask Brian Manternock if he's here to help with the computer. Maybe we can bring up a couple of ways to access that. Now, interesting enough, there are a number of web points or web access entryways that you can use to get to this particular Access and Construction Alert List program. And so what we'll do is we'll walk through a couple of those that most likely a visitor or campus member of our campus community would use. And so we'll just start with the University of Iowa webpage. And we'll go to A to Z, and we could start with A if we wanted to. We could go down to Access. Brian, if you could get us down to Access and Construction Alerts. Or we could go to C if you wanted. And if we went to C, it would get us down to the same thing. So there are still just a number of ways that people can find it if they're not familiar with the program. Well, even for those
Was that construction?
you can trust me. You can trust me. But we'll go ahead and go to the page. And what we want to do is show some of the information that's available at that particular website. And this website is updated constantly by the construction managers and facilities management as the projects progress, and as this information becomes relevant, they put it into the system automatically captures it, takes it to this program. So within the program, you'll see that it'll tell you some certain things. It'll tell you the name of the project and what the access issue is. In this particular one, there's a building entrance closure at IREH. The project is going to replace the windows and the curtain wall. Other information on there is why did we close it? The closure is necessary to replace the curtain wall. It important information becomes the start date, the end date, start time, end time, and we get down to some of the, maybe the most important, the alternate route that we're going to recommend you use because this route is not accessible. And you'll see that it says on this particular one, use other entrances. Our accessible route for those with impacted mobility challenges would be the same. Use the other accessible entrances. There is an elevator closure one, same type of information, reason for the closure. We get down to the alternate routes. That happens to be a west elevator project, so it says use the east elevator. So people know they can use, still have access to the building. Other examples, Brian will go through some. Parking lot, there's a parking lot closure, sidewalk closure, information that gives you alternate routes to use and these particular closures on the sidewalk. We do, at the locales, try to put any type of signage that would be beneficial. Some of it is a visual, some of it are audible information, so that all persons, no matter what their challenge may be, can be alerted to the distraction that is in front of them at that time. Oh, what I think is one of the most important things about the alert is we know a program like this works very well for those individuals who are willing to seek that information or learn that information to keep themselves updated. But all of us aren't always willing to do that, or maybe don't have time, or it's not our point of focus at the moment. So there's a way on this that you can go to this and you can actually subscribe to this listserv, and it will automatically send you an email telling you the latest addition that's been made to that. So within your iPhone or on your laptops or on your computer, you'll have that information in front of you at all times, updated with the freshest information that's available based on the entries that have been made that particular day, that particular moment. So it makes it pretty easy. Brian, you want to make any comments? Brian has obviously been very involved in this. He's worked with some of our information folks within facilities management, Wendy Moorhead and others, and have had some great success, tremendous feedback. What type of activity do we see?
I'm going to guess on average, we may have, to average things out, I'm just guessing maybe one closure a day. Some days we may have 3, there may be days where we go without any. I haven't checked the listserv to see how many have actually subscribed to it. This is obviously other individuals or units that use this. For instance, our parking and transportation group, public safety is very interested in this. The city of Coralville, the city of Iowa City, the bus, other units that have bus transportation. So,
Now, all those groups are notified automatically. So they automatically get notified. It's very beneficial not only to the university campus, but to the surrounding community. Any questions? I'd be glad to entertain any questions on this. I'm sure I have these.
Question, great take the question.
Yes, sir?
I'm curious about those audible signs. We were talking about sort of this issue related to wayfinding this morning. So when you have a construction project going, you actually have audible signs that are chirping away all the time, that are how are they activated?
Brian, can you help with that? This is another area that Brian has been a leader on. So.
yeah, we have experimented a little bit with audible signs on campus and closures, especially on sidewalk closures.
Campus rec.
As a matter of fact, yeah, the Campus Rec Wellness Center, it's kind of one of our first experiments there, and so they do not constantly, put out the message. They sense motion. Once you get so close to the sign, that is when it sends out the audible notice, attention ahead, the sidewalk is closed, to warn the individual that so that they do not walk into a construction zone, somebody who's sight impaired. So we experimented with that a little bit, and we're hoping to expand on that as well.
Wonderful question.
I experimented with that sign too, and I just wondered if they were using them consistently, but it sounds like it's still in pilot level.
I'd say that's correct, Mike. Yeah, that was kind of our pilot project, and but we are trying to keep in consideration any main, pedestrian routes such as that are strongly, they're used often to remind our construction managers, to use this technology.
One of the most important things for the success of our program, of course, relies heavily on the construction managers and the knowledge they have of the progress of the project. And us helping them stay informed about tools like that that are accessible become a key. So we feel like a strong partner there. So we do look constantly for opportunities to share with them, this is a good time to use our audible signage, or a good time. Very good question. Thank you, everyone.